Stern Cardiovascular is the largest cardiovascular research and healthcare group in the Mid-South, and they focus on more than just your heart. Stern Cardiovascular is sponsoring our conversation with Dr. Ari Shahkovsky this morning. Dr. Shahkovsky, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Okay, so talk to me about just a healthy way to also get fit and lose weight.
Well, the healthiest way, of course, is with exercise and adjusting your diet. But there are some new medications that have been recently approved by the FDA that have had some remarkable results in both individuals with diabetes and individuals without diabetes who are either overweight or obese. These are glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists called incretins, and then also twin cretins, glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists, combined with a gastric inhibitory peptide. They're approved for individuals who are obese, greater than 30 kilograms per meter squared, or for individuals who are overweight, greater than 27 kilograms per meter squared, and have risk factors such as smoking, cholesterol abnormalities, or high blood pressure.
And so these shots, you see people in Hollywood are getting this done, and I think that's how people will familiarize themselves with what you're talking about. And so it's basically a weekly shot. Explain how this all works in your everyday life, and if there are any side effects, and who should have them and who should avoid them.
Sure. So it's a weekly shot, which actually makes it convenient, very simple. Comes in a special pen that delivers exactly the right amount of medication, and they're different depending on which medication you receive. I had already mentioned which individuals this is applicable to. It should not be administered to anybody who's had a history of medullary thyroid cancer, or to anybody who has a rare cancer condition called multiple endocrine neoplasia type 2. And also shouldn't be given in pregnant women, although there are ongoing studies right now looking at these medications in pregnancy. And caution should be taken in anyone who has gallbladder disease, a history of pancreatitis, retinopathy. Should ask your ophthalmologist or optometrist if it's okay for you to go on this medication if you have retinopathy. It's a disease of retina. Anybody with gastroparesis who already has problems with digestion, and anybody who's taking certain kinds of diabetes medications such as insulin or sulfonylureas, because that can lead to a significant drop in your blood sugar and cause hypoglycemic events. There are some side effects that people might experience when they take these medications. Because it's got an impact on the gastrointestinal system, both directly and indirectly, it can cause some slowing of the GI tract as food passes through, and that's one of the ways that it works. It makes you feel full. But as a result of that, people could feel nauseous, they might even vomit, they can get abdominal pain, some bloating, constipation, even the opposite, diarrhea. And they feel full early, and sometimes people could get heartburn. Now, the way to get around those kinds of side effects is usually your doctor will start at the low dose and then gradually titrate it up. And one titrates it up to either the maximum dose or until an individual can no longer tolerate the dose. When you're on this medication, eat smaller portions and try to stop before you feel full, and definitely avoid greasy and fried foods, and drink plenty of water. Those things might help alleviate the side effects from these medications.
And when you just look at the benefits, the best way that this is helping people, can you share that as we close?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obesity is linked to about 100 different disease processes. And there's a lot of metabolic issues associated with obesity that impact your increase in cancer, heart disease, osteoarthritis. So losing weight will help impact all of those diseases. But there have been some additional studies that have come out showing that irrespective of the weight loss, these drugs seem to have an impact on reducing the development of heart failure, reducing risk of heart attack, reducing risk of stroke, A study just published yesterday showed that individuals on these medications had a almost 42% reduction in the development of colorectal cancer. They're now looking at utilizing these drugs, or their ongoing trials, in preventing Alzheimer's disease, helping people quit smoking, helping people quit alcohol. The medical community is very excited about this drug. It seems to be that every study that's being published is finding some additional benefit of this medication. But I do want to say that, at the same time, there's a lot we don't know about these medicines. So it shouldn't be taken by everyone who just wants to lose some weight. Don't do that, because there's a lot we don't know about these drugs. Do it the healthy way. I mean, these are specifically for people who are obese and have had difficulty losing weight and must lose weight because of the medical benefits of losing weight, or for individuals who are overweight with a body mass index of greater than 27 kilograms per meter squared who have risk factors for heart disease.
All right, Dr. Schakowsky, thanks so much. I even heard Charles Barkley say he lost 65 pounds on this. So it's interesting that you're giving this real context that people can use and make better decisions. So thank you for joining us. And we'd also like to thank Stern Cardiovascular for today's discussion on cardiovascular care. Thanks again, Dr. Schakowsky.